just so we can illustrate this a little bit better. The rack bar that's coming out the end of your rack here, you're going to put this on. You're going to tighten this down. When you're doing, if I can manage it, you're going to have to I recommend using some thread lock on the threads for that bolt. That's something you want coming loose. It's just a recommendation. It's not an absolute hard requirement. But what you do want to do is make sure you take a wrench, a crescent wrench will work just fine, and lock or hold the rack bar while tightening this. You don't want to put a torque load into the rack bar because you'll be putting loading into these teeth right into your pinion. So like say, crescent wrench right here, you just have to have this sticking out of the housing enough to reach it. You'll do that for both sides. The crescent wrench will always be on this side. This is the driver's side. Again, I recommend putting a little thread lock on your bolt. Put it in and tighten it down. Make sure when it's in place that the countersink here is facing toward the rear of the vehicle and that this is level. All right, we've got this flathead bolt here. When this is going to be installed, finally, this does require a thread locker on these threads on the far side of this clevis. So, peel your boot back. Remember, you don't want this tightened down yet because you want to be able to slide this around. So put your boot all the way to the back. Don't forget your thread locker. Core is a 5/16 hex. And then slide your boot. And again, I do recommend some grease or some sealant. You don't want any kind of moisture or water getting into your rack housing. And then put that on. And clamp it down. That's all there is to that end. On your outer end, this chromoly Heim end will have your rod spacers, top and bottom. And I do have dust boots available for these. I'll go ahead and install one now. These dust boots for servicing require this expansion tool. And it helps to grease these when you're installing them. They'll slide on a little bit easier. Which I actually did that. Got this on here. We want to go this way. Like so. And when you're installing this in the vehicle, just make sure that this boot lip isn't getting snagged in between your rod end spacers, just so you don't tear it or, kind of not get the assembly fully seated. And then you're just dropping your bolt through and tightening everything up. Everything in the assembly is either stainless, aluminum, or coated steel. You can use a needle if you'd like to put grease inside this boot. And then on this boot here, it's very tight. And what I recommend doing is greasing the surface of this clevis here, the ball joint itself, and the inside of the boot, so that everything slides real nice and easy in there. And then the last part of the assembly would be putting that back into its groove. And like I mentioned before, tighten your clamp down. And you're all set.